Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Overtalk. I am joined today with a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mirali. I go by Mira. Um,
And tonight's discussion is the new character kit plus comparing it to the beta characters that have come out already. So, what are your first thoughts when you saw the new character?
uh, it's actually different than it. Initially, it looked similar to a few of the supports we had. It took a couple of abilities, and it just kind of felt like they were trying to branch off from a very passive playstyle and trying to invoke more of an aggressive playstyle.
Okay. My first thoughts on it were that I don't mind it. She looks okay. She does, the stuff that she needs to. My only worry was that some of her abilities look like they might do a lot, but I was also kind of wrong about that with Junker Queen. As I stated, I thought Junker Queen was going to be very overpowered, but it turns out in game she is kind of like a wet sponge.
Hmm.
Not great.
Yeah, Junker Queen's very situational. Um, The same theoretically can be said about the new character, as in she can either play defensively or aggressively. I was looking into a few little things. For example, it was some of the people are I've read a little bit here and there. That's another emort ability. It's not just an emort. It's actually very skill based, and you have to time it just right for it to go off for it to have any effect.
Well, I'd say even Bap's Immortality is kind of skill based because you still have to space it out, put it behind something so it doesn't instantly get destroyed, and
Yep.
all that.
Yep, because it's very instantaneous, and like say you're a split second late, it's just not going to save your teammates from. Say a junk is throwing a tire at you, and you're trying to you're trying to neutralize that. And if you're just a second off with either emort or this ability, it's just not going to work.
So, from what I can see with her, okay, so I'm watching this like gameplay trailer, like
Mm-hmm.
reveal stuff. So, okay, first up, so we're gonna discuss her abilities in her kit.
Mm-hmm.
So, what she has is she has the protection protection Suzu. Upon impact of the area, allies briefly become invulnerable and have a cleanse of most effects. I think this is nice. We don't have a healer that can take debuffs away yet,
Yeah.
which is nice. We have healers that can heal, we have healers that can give buffs, but we don't have a healer that can take buffs away or debuffs away. So heals
Yeah.
you of most of your status shit,
Yep.
which
Say you've been antied or, something like that. You normally have to rely on like a Zarya bubble or something similar to that, and it's just, it's gone. But there's really no support that does that. And this
now
character can do that.
it says most. Now, does most mean they're gonna leave anti where it is? Are they gonna use bleed? Is burn considered? Are they going to like when it says most? What does the most entail? Is what I'm wondering.
If I'm imagining that if she's been hacked, she obviously can't get it off. So I'd say it could possibly be anti. It could very well mean, hack targets or burn targets or, anti targets or discorded targets. However, I do see I don't see the benefit because her healing it's been compared to a Zen. Like she's been compared to like a Zen blinking all over the map. Um, so I'd say that it's safe to say, honestly, that it will debuff most effects, burn, anti, discord, things of that nature.
I don't
But
think, in my opinion, I think it shouldn't take away Discord. That's my opinion because it's an impact thing, meaning it could hit multiple people. So I don't think Discord will be out of it. I think it'll just be multi-target ones like burn and anti, which will
yeah.
alleviate some pain, especially from Junker Queen, which will be the only counter that this will be the only healer that has a counter to Junker Queen.
Hmm.
Um, Going on to the kunai, throwing projectile deals increased critical damage. I do and I don't like that. This gives me
Yeah.
very. I spoke to you a bit before about it, but this gives me very bad BAP vibes when he was first released. Because
Yeah.
When BAP was first released, it was found out that he had critical headshots, and if you had a good enough aim, that you could just
Yep.
murk with BAP, and that's still kind of true today, where you can still murk with BAP. The issue becomes though, because BAP has such high healing, that you know what I mean? Like that he
Yeah.
has
It's
such high
just there's
healing that you have this weird thing of do you do damage or do you healing? Similar to Moira, but not so much because
yep.
Moira deals a little bit of damage and can finish targets off. Baptiste just deals so much damage that he can be on par with Soldier or McCree. And I don't
Yeah.
think that's necessarily right, but I don't.
Well, how they balanced it with that, it looks like you can either heal or you can do damage. You can't do both at the same time. And her heals isn't the best. It's actually her healing output has been compared to Zen's.
But do we know for
So
sure that it's going to be as comparable to Zen?
yeah. So far someone's been doing a playthrough, a couple people's been doing playthroughs and stuff like that. It is comparable to Zen's. Um I just watched a video. Now they may adjust it at a later time, but at this point she's not, you don't pick her for heals. You pick her um for her kit really. You're picking her to go in and you want to be as you're pushing W. That's what her kit is all about, is going in, getting kills and being as quick as possible. And the problem now, you can play it offensively and defensively, and that's where the damage comes in because she can go, say you've got a
It
Winston.
looks like the playstyle for her will be mostly throw talisman, then throw a kunai, throw a talisman, throw a kunai, throw a talisman, throw a kunai, back and
Yeah.
forth because the talisman home in on targets,
Hmm.
and so let's see here. So from what I just watched, um, her protection from what I just watched of the gameplay video, from what it looks like, is it looks like it can only it has a limited burst range similar to Anna's nade,
Hmm.
little grenade, and it blows up across someone, makes them all white or whatever, and protects them. That's
Hmm.
I'm all okay with that. Invulnerabilities heals you for the brief moment of getting rid of your buffs and debuffs. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it
Yeah.
being invulnerable because if it was just oh I can take away and cleanse you, then it wouldn't really have that much oomph. It would be like, oh, you're burning, throws it, and a burn.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm just worried about the kunai becoming a bit,
Yeah.
because
And well,
like
well,
Hanzo.
if you
So
remember,
the way that I compare it is that I compare it to
yeah.
Hanzo. The way I compare it is Hanzo and Genji. Genji, if he gets a crit, does more damage, but like it does more damage than his normal, obviously, but he can't get crits all the time. If Hanzo gets a crit, he kills you. And what I'm afraid is going to happen is like Baptiste, he can burst you down really quickly. If it has
Hmm.
increased critical damage, specifically just critical damage, I'm afraid it's going to become too DPS heavy,
Yeah.
which might be the point of her. Might be the point of her being extremely DPSy, similar to Zen, where Zen can discord
Yeah.
and such. Which again, I'm okay with it being this way. I'm just scared it will be overtuned because Blizzard in Blizzard balance so far, it has been
Hmm.
we're making little tiny changes to everything, and with the beta they overtuned a little too much on the debuffs especially for Mercy and other healers.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
might
if
be a little. Go ahead.
oh no, you're good. Well, if you remember Briggs' early days, she was next. She was a beast,
But she was
and
only a beast because of the stuns in her kit.
yeah,
She
her
was.
because well, there was the stuns, and there was also the fact that she had high, her shield. I think her shield health, and then her actual health. I think it was mostly her shield health, but she did a lot of damage for a support. So this is still in the beginning stage. They're obviously going to throw in some nerfs to help deal with this. And with any character with a new release, I think the only one that they haven't really messed with, I think they might have messed with her once. And that was I think that was Echo. I'm not sure. Echo hasn't seen a lot of like fiddling, but we're not talking about that.
Echo's major nerf in Overwatch 2 is that she doesn't carry over the health bar of
Yeah,
whoever she when she uses her ult,
copies.
she doesn't carry over that health bar of whoever she copies,
Yeah.
which
So
is nice.
obviously, yeah, that's good. I think what they're going to do is obviously her damage output, again, it's similar to Baps, it's similar to Zen's. She's got a high damage output. She's got a low heal potential, her potential for healing is very, very low. So what they're going to do, what they may do, end up doing, people might complain a little bit, and they're going to nerf her damage because you go in with a Winston, you're diving, you two tap somebody, and he can just finish them off and they're dead, and you can poof, um, you can get away. And there's obviously going to be a few issues with that. But also at the same time, Overwatch 2, it's not as grouped up as Overwatch 1 is. It's very
I
skirmishy.
I understand that. Um,
Yeah.
in terms of her other ability, the Swift Step, I think it's nice. I think it's very much needed. A lot of the healers need some kind of stopgap, and we're kind
Hmm.
of seeing that with that all the healers that don't have a stopgap have been pretty low tier in Overwatch 2, particularly Ana and Brig. Well, no, not so much Brig. Ana, Mercy. Yeah, Ana and Mercy don't really have a stopgap all that much. Well, Mercy does have a minor. When I say stopgap, I mean the ability to get out of a situation without depending on a teammate.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess you could say the swift step depends on a teammate, but when you can teleport directly to any ally, even through a wall, you could use a Pharah, for example. A Pharah could be used similar to a Mercy. The
Hmm.
only difference here is the Mercy isn't. If the Mercy wants to go to a Pharah, she has to jump, and the soldier will just snipe her out of the sky. With this one, you're teleported instantly,
Yeah.
which makes it
And then,
which I can see her pairing up very much nicely with Zenyatta, or pairing up really well with Lucio, because
mhm,
Lucio can go a distance and boom, she's over there, or she can teleport back to the Zen for safe cover.
mhm.
And because it goes through walls, she can make very good advantage of addressing her weak points.
Yep. Because literally she goes in, gets out, can go back in, and then get back out, and then goes back in. She's
Now, it says that her healing of Ofuda is burst healing. Is it just a
mhm,
burst of talisman, like a shitload of them? Or is it just.
3.
I saw that it was three, but I saw that it was like a burst of like in groups of three. Like she shoots a group of three, and then another group of three, and another group of three, and so on and so forth. What it looks like is there isn't really an ammo counter for it, so it makes me wonder: is it just is there infinite ammo on it, or is there like a recharge?
I think because where the video I watched, they said it was similar to Zen's healing. You throw a talisman on somebody, you can throw, and 3 talismans, float to them, and then you can talisman somebody else. And similar. I'm going to assume this may not be what it is. I'm going to assume that just like Zen, you can rotate your orb from this person to this person to this person. Um, it's you can, throw your talisman to this person, this person. It's similar to Zen's orb, maybe a little bit of Moira and a little bit of Brig, where, there's a limited amount of packs you can throw on somebody. So it could be she throws the talismans, there
So
is a hit there, like they will.
like what you're saying is like it hits them, it does regen, but there's a limit to how many you can throw on somebody.
Yeah.
Like say it's like 4 or 5. There's like a limit of how many you can throw on somebody for that regen to take effect.
Yeah, I think that I saw that it was 3 on the person, because I saw it was on Azaria,
So
and the
from what I see of the Kitsune Rush, yeah, I don't mind it. I think it'll be an okay ult. Similar, I think it'll be a very useful ult because in terms of what it feels like, is that so you have accelerated movement speed, attack speed, and cooldowns. Is what this pass feels like? Is this ultimate feels like a buffed up Lucio speed in?
Mhm.
But what it mainly
And
feels that what this feels like is this feels like a choke breaker.
yep,
For anyone that's played TF2, this feels like the Uber charge. You're not completely invulnerable, but this feels as if it's a choke breaker because I think something they realized with 6v6 is that even their map design, there's a lot of chokes. It's everywhere. Every
yeah,
single corner is a choke point,
yeah, and
and
it's so
you
malleable with different abilities
and you
too.
have to like. I think a good combo with this would either be in terms of like combo ults because like people I guess enjoy doing that. I don't understand why you can just use one ult and sometimes it's okay. Why people want to combo ults together?
Situational. So, for example, one of the things that they did give a really good example was you combo this with, say, a soldier. Soldier's going to hit faster. He doesn't even have to ult. At this point, soldier is shooting faster. His reloads are lower. Um, uh,
You
let's
know,
see.
you know what this reminds me of. This
Hmm,
reminds me of the conch from TF2, where literally it does the exact same thing. It makes your reloads faster, it gives you an
hmm,
increased speed boost, and it slightly heals you. This
yep,
almost does the exact same thing, except
yep.
that's in an area wherever the soldier moves, and this is in an area wherever you place it. And I'm guessing it goes as far as the Kitsune goes. It doesn't look like it has a limited reach. I see this as either a choke breaker or just to quickly get to the point, almost like a little boost of speed.
Yeah.
Also, her wall climb, I guess, comes in handy. Um, I don't see it be all that useful though.
Oh,
Her wall climb seems like a meh passive because the reason I find it a meh passive is that even on push, which is the most vertically inclined map there is right now, or rather, actually no, Raceway. Raceway is the most vertical variation of a map because most maps are not very vertically sound. They don't have a lot of verticality to them. Even that one, there's only like a couple places where climbing is super useful.
hmm,
So I don't see her wall climb pass. It's like a nothing. It's like a
yeah.
nothing thing. I
It's kind
find
of
it.
like they gave her some sort of mobility because, Zen has his kick. He has his knockback, but he's very immobile. Mercy has her guardian angel. Bap has his, boots that make him go up in the air. You're a bunny rabbit. Um, I think the goal that they were trying to do with her was they didn't want her to be super all over the place because she already is. She does have the mobility to go in, go out. I think it's a staple because of Shimada.
Give her an escape option.
Yeah, they were trying to give her some sort of escape option because think of it like this. She wall climbs gets to a target that's on the other side of the wall, or on inside of a building or whatever, or somewhere over there, and she could just poof over there. It's a way for her to get out of danger. So say somebody is going for her, sure, she can deal with it, but it'd probably be a little easier to just to wall climb and poof to a different person. It's just more of a survivability thing, typical, similar to Genji. It's kind of confusing. He wall climbs, does a double jump over you, and by that point, he has some cooldowns reset, and you know, if the Genji is good, he's going to one tap, he's going to combo tap you, dash out, and be done with it. It's just a way for her to have some mobility, and also it's a nod towards where she's also a Shimada. They just wanted her to
I
have that.
don't.
I think that
Is
was just
she?
that.
I don't think she's a Shimada though, because they've already stated that there's only the Shimada brothers. She might be part of a yakuza, but she's not a Shimada.
You might be right on that, but I do think they were trying to stick close to that
You
a little
mean
bit.
you mean Japan? You mean they're trying to stick towards Japan heritage and culture?
Possibly. I think it was because I watched I read
I
somewhere.
wouldn't say Shimada because the Shimada brothers are already established in the Overwatch lore of just being two brothers of the two different dragons, and the two dragons are at constant
Mhm.
war with each other.
Who knows? She could
One
be
wishes
a
to find
distant
himself,
cousin.
and the other one, even if that feels like a weak tie-in, I would much rather have it if she was, because again, I'm just going based off of what is already pre-established. It makes sense just to have the two dragons and the two brothers left alone, and that's that.
Hmm.
That is their conflict,
Yeah.
their struggle. If they want to make another Japan oriented character, it doesn't have to be with a Shimada. It can be just that she contacts as Oni, or she has a whole Kitsune thing going on. So maybe she's a shaman. She's a Oni master or a sorceress or a shrine maiden or something Japan esque.
Hmm.
I
I
would
know.
I would be okay with that because that does other things. If she gets roped in with Shimada, it doesn't make any the whole gimmick with the two brothers would kind of be fucked.
It could also be um an enemy criminal family. She's the daughter of an enemy criminal family. Could make sense, and it could kind of stir the pot a little bit.
Even if so, there's even if she's not part of a crime family, she could just be simply spiritual and religious and somehow
Yeah.
interact with, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely know what you mean, but from what I've read and what I've seen, because there was a video that was released and I kept taking it down. Um, she is related some way to that. I'm not sure what, but I do know that she is related in some form or another.
To a crime family.
To the brothers.
Related how?
Um, it didn't specify because the video I watched, um, basically they live in an apartment complex. She comes home, she talks to her neighbor who is an older gentleman, and he has, a granddaughter. Um, it fast forward a little bit, and if you remember in the one of the cinematics with Hanzo and Genji, um, they are both before it even goes to inside, you see outside that there's a bunch of, bodyguards and stuff like that. Um, when it fast forwards through the video that I saw, the same. One of them had, the typical JoJo swirly hair up front or whatever. Um, three of them just come in, they're trying to get, rent money or just kind of roughing up the old guy. And, that's where it started displaying some of her abilities and stuff like that. Um, it it just felt, because it did pan in on a picture, and the picture had, it looked similar to the temple that was in the cinematic with the brothers, the two dragons. So it's kind of like Easter eggs, just put here, put
It might
there,
be a
a little bit
reference
of
because
hint
it's
there.
that the temple's a public temple, so it
Yeah.
might just be that she's inspired. But again, I would much rather prefer if it was her own story of a different
Mhm.
Yakuza family, whatever, in Japan somewhere, doing
It
her
most
doing her
likely
own
is.
thing because
And, she's just standing up to the criminals because, the Shimadas,
crime
as,
family.
it's a crime family. And the people that, came into the apartment complex was a bunch of goons. They were, the lower end of it's like, hey, you got to pay your rent, or I don't know. It was
Maybe
in Spanish.
maybe it's just a story that she's, you know, fighting the crime families. That's it.
It could very well be. And, she's standing up to him, and that's actually interesting. And that I honestly can't wait to see her interactions with Hanzo or, Genji for that matter.
I don't think she'll have an interaction with Hanzo because Hanzo by this point is pretty fucking depressed about his life and kind of isn't really enjoying being a crime boss.
Didn't he leave though?
No, Genji left.
Hmm.
It was the whole story between them is that Genji was being chosen to be the next person in line for the crime family. Genji didn't want to do it, and then the Yakuza were outraged or whatever, and then told that he has to go do it. And if he wants to do it, if he doesn't want to do it, then he has to escape, which would mean that they have to end up killing him. Or they have to, do a fight or whatever. Hanzo wants his brother to do it, and Hanzo really doesn't want to take up the position, and Genji doesn't want to take up the position, and so what happens is Hanzo is forced to, and is then forced to then go hunt his brother down. They have a fight and a duel. Genji loses. Hanzo thinks he killed his brother. Genji is saved by Mercy, gets turned into a cyborg,
Oh,
and then he doesn't know what to do
okay.
with his life, and he goes into Blackwatch, and then Blackwatch takes him in and send him on missions and shit. And then after Blackwatch and Overwatch gets exposed, he doesn't know who he is anymore or what he is, whether he's being used by the government, used by himself, or used by others. So he goes off and soul searching, meets Zenyatta, turns into the pupil he is today, goes back to his brother to face him off again and show that he's alive still and that, you know, he's there,
Oh,
and then they fight.
actually, Hanzo, he actually rejected his father's legacy, ultimately leading him to abandon the clan. He did abandon the clan, and the clan has declared Hanzo an enemy. And, throughout this entire time, assassins have been sent to kill him time and time again. So he did abandon the clan. He did he did kill his brother, but he did refuse the leadership.
Anywho, so there's that whole jazz, and I just feel it would be too complex to add another thing into that.
Yeah.
Now, going forward into the direction Overwatch 2 is taking with its heroes. What do you think in terms of Sojourn, Junker Queen, and Kukuri thus far?
Um,
Kakiro or whatever.
I think Sojourn has the potential. She's been she's a weird cross between Echo and Soldier with the amount of damage that she can pull off.
What do you get the echo
Um,
from? She can't
uh,
fly.
no, she can't fly, but her secondary, you know how Soldier has his Helix rockets. Hers is kind of like a deal damage over time. It felt similar to a little bit of
No,
you
her rockets is replaced with a her alt fire is a beam
yeah.
that goes through
Mm.
someone. What you mean is is re- her healing is replaced with a um little graviton orb.
Oh, I meant like her primary fire than her secondary fire.
I wouldn't say she's even comparable to Echo at all. I mean, Echo flies, has a short range beam, and has long range explosives. I
Hmm.
don't see where you're getting the Echo from.
I think it's just that she's a middle ground between hit scan and projectile because when you go, because her primary fire is hit scan, her secondary is projectile. I guess that's where I'm getting the Echo vibes from
Her secondary
because you
is a
can,
beam.
yeah,
Echo isn't a crossbreed though. Echo's only projectile.
that's why I said a soldier and Echo.
I would say I wouldn't even compare her to Echo, me personally. For me, I more see it as she's a side grade to Soldier. She is a soldier but with difference. So the way that I put it is that Soldier is your all-around general hero. Soldier 76 is your all-around hero, and so is Sojourn as well. But they cover different grounds. Soldier is good for picking off one target at a time. Sojourn is good for picking off one target at a time, but they succeed in two different ways. Sojourn can the way that I see it is Sojourn can pick off a person from mid to long range with her alt fire and get in close range with her main attack. And again, I think they're like the same archetype of character, just done differently.
Hmm.
You see what I mean? I
Yeah,
wouldn't compare her to Echo though, because
I think it's just the beam that it's the beam quality because with Sojourn's secondary her secondary fire, it's similar to it feels as somebody that plays Echo, it feels similar to Echo's
I
beam.
guess it could be seen as similar, but that they function very differently. Echo's beam, it does more damage based on the health of the enemy target. If they have less than 50% of their health, it'll deal more damage, which doesn't make any sense to me.
That does make sense. With what you're saying.
Echo's beam, 50% less damage. Sorry, not 50% less health on the target, increased damage, it'll do more damage. But you gotta focus on
Yeah.
the target and it ranks up. So if you continue hitting the same target, it builds up in damage gradually. It's just if they're under 50% health, it does even more damage. Sojourn, when she fires her beam, it passes through targets and shields, and it deals damage in one location. She has to charge it up though by firing off her bullets. If you want to look at them as both general heroes, Soldier does way better on longer. The way that I see it is that Sojourn is better on longer engagements. Soldier is better on shorter engagements with an anime. If you're going for a long fight, Sojourn is better because her gun can pierce the enemy team with her passive, and her grenade slows the enemy team when they're in it and deals passive damage when they're in it as well. And her ultimate is just rapid fire of beams,
Hmm.
a modification of her gun. Soldier
Yeah.
76 is good for short small iterations of a match. You fire off your gun, you burst them down with your helix rockets, and you have a little bit of sustain to fall back on with your healing. But your healing isn't going to out heal any damage incoming to you. It's meant to get you up to then escape and get to the front line again, or to back
Mhm.
the fuck out and heal a little bit for another quick engagement. He's not very good on sustained firefights. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sojourn's good to getting to high ground and has the advantage in a prolonged fight to use her dash to go under targets and get where she needs to go. Soldier can dash around generally and get to where he needs to go more effectively on the ground. He's more effective on the ground to be able to get from place to place in short bursts to like run away or get where he needs to be. While Sojourn is very good at getting to the front line or getting to a high ground.
Mhm.
Is that better explained?
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of the direction that I see them taking heroes, it looks like they're taking heroes in a direction of each hero. From what it seems like, is that Sojourn counters the new healer.
Mhm.
Sojourn counters the new healer because she can burst her down and follow her with her slide that can go under her kunais and makes it very hard for her to deal with because it goes through her team. Her ultimate will go through her team, and her alt fire goes through her team, and it makes it very hard for her to do her job.
Yeah.
Junker Queen is countered by the healer.
Yeah.
The healer can counter most of what she does, can basically keep the status ailments off her team, and then Junker Queen counters Sojourn. She can burst her down, outlast her, and constantly keep Sojourn in a range where Sojourn is not super effective, up close and personal.
Yep.
And because she does a lot of damage up close and personal and is very good for longer or short engagements, it means that Sojourn has to fight in her turf, in her terms. So what I see this happening is I see each of the heroes when they come out, I see them coming out in patches of 3 like they always did beforehand, but I
Mhm.
see the new heroes countering each other in a circle. Instead of it being 3 heroes are released and their counters are kind of not really there.
Mhm.
Like they have counters, but they're not hard counters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the other effect goes, but that's also kind of bad as well because Sojourn, Junker Queen, and the new healer aren't really counterable by everyone else. You can't counter a Junker Queen with most other DPS, maybe besides a Reaper or a Widow that can outmaneuver her. The Sombra doesn't really do anything against her. In terms of Sojourn, you can't really counter her in the normal ways. I think the only thing that can really counter a Sojourn is a Hog, but you're not going to be using Hog that often because of his not so great meatiness to him.
Yeah.
And the only thing that seems like it's going to be able to counter the new healer in terms of other things around it is probably a flyer. Which means we're also going to have this weird, awkward plane of you could go flyer, but DPS do more damage now, so it's harder to do a flyer. So I see this kind of becoming a bit of a Zenyatta situation. Of the thing that
Yeah.
counters Zenyatta being soldier, a sniper, or getting behind him with a Genji, all 3
Mhm.
of those things are actively pushed down in Overwatch 2. If you stand in one spot in Overwatch 2 for too long, you will be picked off.
Yep. And that's
Widow's not super great. She doesn't have she pumps out a lot of damage and she can one shot somebody, but she's also really easy to counter now. And because of the team split, oddly enough, she's even worse off. Soldier and Sojourn can't really counter Zenyatta anymore because of the incredible amount of burst damage he has at his disposal at
The
the moment.
and the passive ability that they've given supports now, like they do some damage. All Zenyatta has to do is just peek around a corner, or take cover, and he starts healing after he's been out of battle. And that's one of the reasons why they've been one of the compositions they've been running is Lucio Zen. That's a low heal comp, but at the same time, you're speeding your Zen around, you're speeding around, you're speeding
Well,
whatever.
even though it's a low heal comp, it doesn't really matter all too much because
You're going for survivability.
you're going just to survive, and in that case, you'll survive and you have a damage increase. So you're just like
Yeah.
I said before in a previous video in open comp. The meta over there was a Mercy Ana and Zen, or a Zen Lucio Brig, or some merger of that. Usually
Yeah.
having always a Lucio and a Zen with the other heal being switched out for either Honor or Mercy, or a Brig sometimes, and the two tanks being Doomfist and Junker Queen. But what I see happening is I see that third healer being this one. Can you imagine the devastation rocked by a Doomfist flying in with a speed boost, gaining extended reach, hitting someone, getting able to be taken
Oh
out,
yeah.
getting a
Well, see,
damage boost off of that punch plus healing from the Zen, and then getting a passive mid ground, having the other healer being the Kuriki, focusing on Junker Queen.
yeah. Well, see, you can even like Doom's not theoretically. I see what they were going for, but Doom is not in a good spot with tank right now. It's
No,
very
he's
It's
not,
very,
but
yeah. It's very
he's not
situation.
he's not great in role queue, but in open queue where you can have two tanks, he excels because he is what a off tank is.
Yeah.
He is the entire antithesis of the off tank. Everybody is focusing on him. He's drawing focus away from the main tank. The main tank comes up, mercs on someone, and they're left. What do we do? Do we deal with this off tank far into our back line, or do we deal with the main tank up front? And if you deal with the main tank up front, he's going to finish off the targets that the main tank peels off for.
See, and that's good for open queue, but the problem is it's going to be in comp when you're relying on one tank. And I will say, imagine you're Rhine, right? Classic Rhine map. Let's go with King's Row. You've got the new healer. Apparently, you're going to swing faster. You're going to be charging in, going fast, swinging faster with her. And this is with her ult, mind you. You're going to be swinging faster, you're going to fire strike faster. You're going to just be going in. It's basically an advanced Lucio speed boost. Now, say you combine this character with a Lucio, you got your speed boost, and then say you do this ult, he's going to be swinging, or even an Ana. Give him Nano, and he's swinging faster, fire striking. He's just going to demolish the entire enemy team. Um, honestly, I think you're right about that. Like any tank that they're going to throw in here, they're going to go in and wreck shit.
But my other thing is that I don't think it's going to be a thing where it's going to be like when Brig released, when she was overpowered, because the only reason Brig was overpowered when she was released was because of the Goats comp that she was in, and because of her high stuns and high shield. I don't even think it's her high shield. I think it was just the issue that you have three tanks that are already really beefy in their health that can do decent damage, but Brig pumps out just enough healing because they're
And
so
then
beefy, they don't
yeah,
die.
and then her healing stacked. And because if you remember in those days, her healing, um, it stacked. It didn't just, there was no overhealing. It became armor. Like, sure, it becomes armor still a little bit, but like at the same time back then, you had extra help.
I
It
don't
provided
think
extra armor.
I don't think the issue there was ever Brig. I think it was just the antithesis of what Goats was, because Goats had
Hmm.
beefy tanks going up against a Brig that could just wail off them for free and get a shitload of ult charge and then a shitload of healing.
Yeah, because you,
I'm sure if Baptiste was released in the era when Goats was the major process, he would be a top tier fucking healer because he'd be able to keep the whole goddamn team alive and probably be even worse because then they have Emor
yep,
and then he has a passive regen. It would just be awful.
yep. You're literally like with the goats, you just have a Zen Bap and maybe Lucio or Brig. There was
Anyways,
no point in running goats anymore.
even and even when I've run this particular comp style that I told you about before with Doomfist and Junker Queen, people still are so attached to goats. They're like, "Oh, it's goats beta or whatever." I'm like, "No, no, this is different. It's different because goats is no longer a viable thing in the way that it works anymore."
Hmm.
I call it buckler comp because you're causing the other team to buckle. You're applying so much like a buckler shield. You're going for one specific block, and if you do it, you win. And if
Yep,
like that comp, you do so much pressure that you basically back them into their spawn, and you keep it there. But they only have to break one part of the shield for you to go downhill. Anyways, in terms of how do you feel about it being only available to Overwatch 1 players?
the new hero.
Yep.
Mm, I don't think that's a bad decision. I know I'm probably on the weird side of that, but
Yeah, so you some people were right that there are heroes on the premium battle pass
yeah,
because it says available only for Overwatch 1 players.
yeah.
And that makes me question, are there going to be heroes on the premium battle pass and that's the only way you're going to get them? If so,
Probably,
that is going to
probably.
massively suck.
Well, they'll probably find ways around that. Like, I, if they're smart about it, when they release the heroes, you can attain the heroes, get the heroes. It's fine. But attaining special cosmetics for said heroes, that's
No,
that's
I understand.
understandable.
That's not what I'm talking about though. I'm talking about
Yeah,
specifically because it's already been shown that
with the Overwatch
Sojourn.
one.
It says for new heroes, Sojourn and Junker Queen, free season 1 instant unlock, and then free for Overwatch 1 players is this new character, and this makes me think: is this how they're going to be handling new characters?
That might be what they're meaning. And
Is this how they're going to be handling, where the premium is the only way to get new
mhm.
characters? And if so, that's gonna suck.
Well, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be pissed off. And if they're smart about it, they'll change it. Because the thing is, a lot of people aren't going to be happy about that. A lot of people have, we have waited how long for Overwatch 2?
Let's
Um,
see. When did the first
yeah,
trailer come out?
about,
2018. Yeah, about
and
2018.
I will give Blizzard
4
this
years.
with everything that's been going on with them, all the shit that's been going on. Let's just take away that for just a second. Blizzard is notorious for being slow on their release dates. They are notoriously slow on everything. And but also at the same time, you know, people have been waiting for this. They've been waiting for this, Overwatch 2. But the problem is it feels like more of a punishment than a reward. Like, oh, hey, you can get this character only if you've been playing Overwatch 1. And it's, if people are interested in Overwatch 2, this is literally making them be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll go and buy this." It feels like a marketing scheme a little bit. I don't know if that makes any sense because people that
No,
right
it's
now,
it's the fear of missing out.
yeah.
What I'm wondering though is how much is premium though, because we don't know how much premium is.
Yeah.
So we don't know if premium is the Watchpoint Gibraltar pack, and that's $50, or we don't know if premium is just going to be like $10, like the Fortnite Battle Pass, where it's $10 and then $7 to gift to someone else.
I mean, okay, I'm gonna be honest. If they did it something like, and I know this is stupid to say, if they did it something similar to like Fortnite, where it's not, you don't even have to blink an eye. It's like whatever for the battle pass. That's not going to be a problem. Like, I don't see people seeing that as a problem. That's doable. That's manageable.
No, if it's
But
$10, I would be. I don't mind the idea of a battle pass. What I don't like is I want stuff to be available for the battle pass for
mhm,
free, and I want stuff to
mhm,
be available for the battle pass for paid. But what
yeah,
I'm specifically looking for is something like the Yu-Gi-Oh battle pass, where it's if you want all the unlocks in that pass, then you go buy premium, and premium gives them to you all at once in order. Boom, 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 boom. Every
yeah,
level up is a reward, whereas the normal one is reward gain 5 levels, reward gain 5 levels, reward gain five
yeah.
levels,
Well, and
whatever.
that's not a, yeah, and like I don't honestly
But
see a problem with
that's
that because,
but no, I
yeah,
don't have an issue with that. That's what I want it to
yeah,
be. Where
yeah,
premium is just
exactly.
a consolidated version.
But I do also have that fear that they're trying to monopolize it a little bit because that would be, excuse my language, but that'd be kind of kind of fucked. It'd be a little messed up because, you know, oh, you have the player base just sitting here waiting for years and you haven't really given them anything. And let's be honest, the only thing it feels like there's like different graphics for Overwatch 2, but they've also taken away a tank. They've introduced two characters that we've experienced, one we've seen just recently. What else is there? There's got to be more to what I'm hoping there is more that they haven't introduced to us because what somebody was really upset about it. A little bit of the fan base. Where's the PvE? They promised PvE. We haven't even heard of anything about the PvE portion. Um, and as somebody that's, I do like a good story. I think it has the potential to flesh out that story. But if they're not going to deliver on that, they're going to lose a lot of their fan base or players because this is just not what people.
Say they don't have PVE, which would be awful, but wouldn't be surprising. Say they don't do a PVE. I personally wouldn't care.
Mhm.
Um, I think it would be awful because they've already shown they had one mission fully fledged out a long time ago with testers.
Mhm.
They had one whole mission that you could play at their convention, but it is very. I feel what they want to get out right now is they want to get out the battle pass and they want to get the multiplayer game because that's what people, even though it's not what most of the fans want, it's what will keep people happy.
Mhm.
We've seen it with Halo already that people really only bought Halo for its multiplayer for a long time,
Yeah.
and then they played the campaign later on. So if that's how it's going to be, where the multiplayer is released, this is the multiplayer main game that we know to come, love, and enjoy. And 5v5 is generally enjoyable, I think, only because it's new right now and fresh. I think more
Mhm.
criticism will come out eventually, but it's new and it's fresh, and then they release the campaign. Sure, go for it. I just hope, like others that do this kind of thing, that it isn't released in episodes.
Yeah.
Because then it's, oh, you bought this for 30, $60. And then, you know what I mean? You get a discounted one later on, and it's like, oh, buy episode 1 because episode 2 came out. It's like, well, why
Hmm.
not just wait till all the episodes are out and they're all discounted?
Yep.
I understand why people, and I've been upset about this as well, that Overwatch 1 is closing down. I can understand it, but I don't like it.
Yep.
I wish that you could have bot games in it. Similar to how Destiny 1 did its thing on console, where you could
Hmm.
load up a world, but it's offline, and there's just bots roaming around and shit.
Yeah.
Where you get into a match and it's just the preloaded bots, and that's it. But I don't think Blizzard will do that. That's asking for a bit much on their part.
Yep.
If we can't expect a bunch of skins, then Also, mind you, I don't see 72 skins coming out of this battle pass. I like the skins that are there, but from what it seems like is with the Genji skin, with it being like there's 4 different versions of it, I think there's going to be at most, like it said, 10 mythic skins and then like 8 legendaries or whatever, but they're just going to be
Mhm.
recolors of those skins.
Yeah.
And if that's how they plan on handling it, if the skin's good enough, I guess. Anyway,
I kind of hope they pull from I know this sounds weird, but there's been a lot of, people do skin concepts and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of concepts that some of the fans have made, and not gonna lie, they're a lot better than some of the concepts that I have seen or, some of the skins that are actually in
well,
the
I
game.
mean, everything's better with hindsight.
Yeah. And I honestly hope that they, actually explore that area because you know
I
that the
think,
concepts
I think what
artists.
they're, I think what they're trying to do is not run into a similar situation that the Steam Workshop has gone into, where Valve will take items from the Steam Workshop and then give, you know, you get paid X amount of money because you have this on the Steam Workshop for whatever. I don't think they want to get into that kind of trouble of creators get paid X amount of money for the map or whatever, and they have like a whole separate currency for the creator. And I don't think they want to do that because that would
Mm.
kind of fuck them in
Well,
certain ways.
yeah, no doubt. But you know that the concept artists, they do come up with concepts, they do come up with ideas, and a lot of those are probably getting scrapped because it's not what the developers want, it's not what, the main team wants or, the head honcho or
Majorly,
whatever.
I think it's majorly an issue of copyright, and they have to pay a copyright. They have to pay a certain amount of money to the copyright holder, which is the creator of the work.
Mhm.
It'll be
Well,
copyrighted
I,
on Overwatch, but they'll still have to pay the creator, and I don't think they want to pay an outside source for stuff that they can do in house. So
well, I'm also,
I think what they would probably just end up doing is just like see the skin, make something slightly different to it, and then pump it out.
yeah.
It sounds shitty, but I think that's something they would just do
Hmm.
because it avoids the sticky situation of, oh well, this is my art and I don't like it anymore in there.
Yep.
But you know what I mean, right? By the whole Steam issue, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about anything else? We're kind of at the end point here.
Don't do drugs, kids. I'm sorry. Um, let me see. Okay, what would be your ideal team comp in Overwatch 2?
Open or roll queue?
Either or. Let's go. Honestly, I know. Let's do roll queue and then we can do open queue.
Ideal comp for roll queue is Reinhardt or Sigma as the tank.
Mm-hmm.
A for DPS, Junkrat, Reaper, Sojourn, or a Sombra or McCree.
Mm-hmm.
As for support, Zen, Morga, Lucio.
Okay.
For open queue, it would be for tank. It'd be two tanks. So for tank, I'd either want to have Doomfist and Junker Queen, Reinhardt and Orisa, or um, Zarya and Hog. For DPS, there's only going to be one DPS, and I want that one DPS to be the same DPS that it shows for roll queue. As for support, there's two support left, and they're going to be Zen and Ana.
Okay.
And that's it. What about you?
Hmm.
Start with
I
roll
think
comp.
I think it depends on. It does depend on the map, but if I want to just generalize it, uh, say either a Sig or a Junker Queen. And this is for Roku. For the DPS, it's a any combination of Tracer, Cass, uh, Soldier, Sojourn, or Genji. And then for the DPS, I'd say either a Lucio Zen, throw in an Ana for depending on whatever you're wanting to do. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in the new character because I think that it could make an impact. Um, just any rotation of that because depending on how you want to play it, if you want to go in fast, I'd go ahead and keep the Junker Queen. Uh, stack your stack the new support with say either a Moira or a Nana, and then you have a Tracer and Sojourn. You have the mobility, you have the survivability, and you go in and you're just kind of pressing W. You're taking quick battles, and that's pretty much what you want to do with that composition. Now, if you're being a little more defensive, I'd say swap out for the Sig. You're being a little bit more passive. You can still keep the rotation of those characters in that. For open queue, you know what? Let's be assholes. We're all going support. You're going to have a Brig, you're going to have a Zen, you're going to have the new character.
But open queue isn't. I mean, I guess you could do that.
Possibly. I'm going to have your Brig, and she's going to pretty much be your tank. Um, you're going to have your. Okay, so Brig Zen, new character. Let's go ahead and throw Moira in there, and then we're going to have a Lucio. Um, I know it's a weird comp, but I'm also an asshole. Constant survivability because when you're out of battle, the self heals.
One Reaper would murk your
Passive
whole team.
ability. Possibly. Unless your brig knows how to your brig shield bash, there you go.
Or shield bash doesn't stun, it pushes.
Whip shot out of the way. See, I forgot about the shield bash, no stun, whip shot.
Even now it just pushes a little further. So you push them out of your crit range, but that's all it does.
And you've got two. Well, also you have two characters that can speed you away from the Reaper. You have the brig whip shot, boop him away. You speed away. Wait for him to be done with his disco dance, and then mark him.
I see. I think that's everything we've discussed so far. Thank you for joining me for this.
Not a problem. It was a pleasure.
That's all the time we have for tonight, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Overtalk.